joining us, Masson. Okay, this is the Public Art Advisory Committee, Monday, July 29th at 5 p.m. This is a hybrid meeting. People may join us here at Brisbane City Hall in the large conference room, 50 Park Place, or via Zoom.
All right, okay, so first on the agenda is a roll call.
Your packet is probably, hold on, I'm sorry. Yes, Chair Glassman is absent. Vice Chair Greenlee,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Cunningham,
Yes, thank you.
Councilmember Davis.
Here.
Park and Rec Commissioner Sewell.
Here.
Committee Member Salmon,
Here.
Committee Member Kelstead.
Okay, next is the approval of the agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda.
Second. In favor?
I.
Aye.
Hi.
Great.
We have to do roll call if I'm on Zoom.
Better safe than sorry. Vice Chair Greenlee,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Cunningham.
Aye.
Councilmember Davis.
Hi.
Park and Recreation Commissioner Sewell. Committee Member Salmon,
I.
Committee Member Kelstead.
Well, let's just say the last name.
Okay, next is the approval of the minutes from June 17th. Everyone have that? Everyone read it?
I move that we approve minutes. Second. Second.
Kelstead, okay. And then, Sewell and Cunningham, you weren't here last time, so abstain. Vice Chair Greenlee,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Cunningham,
Abstain.
Councilmember Davis,
Hi.
Rec Commissioner Sewell,
Abstain.
Committee Member Salmon,
I.
Committee Member Kelstead.
Okay, moving on to discussion items. Item C, discuss how public art may be integrated into the Alvarado to San Benito Stairway project. Public Works Deputy Director to detail the project scope and assist in identifying opportunities and constraints for public art integration.
Good evening, everybody. Some of you may know, probably many of you know that the city has been working on building a stairway in the technically utility corridor, city property in the mid-block extending up the central alleyway from San Benito down to Alvarado. That's currently a dirt path that people use, and it's rough and it's not great in winter. 3 rounds of grant funding finally got us money in 2022. And we proceeded to design, and at some point, a number of years ago, one of our previous assistant engineer, this is Tomas, our newer assistant engineer, came to a public art committee meeting and talked about the project when it was still conceptual. I don't know if it was before or after we got the grant funding. And we got after, okay, and we got some feedback at the time that there was interest from this committee and from the city and adding some art to that project. And at the time, I understood that the interest was in doing something to the steps themselves and maybe sculpture. So those things, our understanding on the engineering side was that they could happen after construction. So when we went to council earlier this month, we got the feedback that they wanted to incorporate art with the design, and that might include lighting, and it might include handrails, and both of those were going to be constructed with the project that we have ready to go. So here we are with you. I want to talk first about the timeline. The grant funds have to be spent by June 30th, 2025. All spent and then reimbursed. We have a couple months to get all the reimbursements from CCAG. So we've backed out the schedule, and it actually doesn't leave a lot of time because we need 3 months to construct. So we're at April 1st for that. And we need 2 months for the advertising and bid and award process. So that puts us at Feb 1. And we have a consultant doing the design that's kind of been a struggle for us to get this thing built. So they need 3 months to incorporate. So I'm looking at November 1st to know what you guys would like.
For a design from an accepted artist for handrails and for handrails, is that what you're saying? And lighting.
Anything you guys come up with.
That comes up, but before it's being built. For instance, if it were, just so I'm clear, if it were built as noted, And the art consultant or the art piece we decided was something that was whether it was within the stair itself that was already there, like the risers to make a mosaic piece. Or if at some point in time, there was a public art structural, sculptural piece that would be added on the side. Neither one of those things would stop your flow or
Right,
timeline. I
Right.
just want to be clear on that. Okay,
Okay,
yeah.
that's what I
that's
thought.
what I
Um,
understood.
I did talk with the consultant a bit about this, to let them know that the schedule is changing a little bit, and they said that we could indent the concrete, so if you wanted to do like tile and you wanted it to be flush, you could, you could build it that way, but I think it could also be just set on those risers. Like happens in San Francisco with tile and mosaics after, so.
Yeah, it was years after.
Yeah,
That's why I was saying, yeah,
Right,
some of the
right.
stairs in the city are years after.
so that's an option, but this is for this committee to kind of come up with.
Mhm.
And I don't know your process, if you need an artist or you guys can pick something, you say, no,
Has to be an artist.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
So if
It
you
has to be
want.
an artist. It would have to be a public call for art.
Oh, okay, so I had only talked to the
Proposals.
designer and he said, some of the things that are easy enough to do, stamping or coloring the concrete on the landings, putting something on the face, putting a star perhaps in the pickets of the handrail. I wanted to mention,
I have another question.
yeah, this should
I'm
be.
sorry,
this is
because I
good
kind of, I
interactive.
was reading this earlier, that's why I was. So the stair rail, the third one that has the bars, wait, 1, 2, 3. The one that's the third picture, can we
The
see
San
that? Yeah, that
Francisco
one.
to Solano.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that, see how that handrail has bars that go across, I don't know what you call that.
Bars.
You know,
Yeah.
the thing, is that the kind he's thinking about? I mean, I hadn't occurred to me until I looked at that, like, it might be important to make sure the design included something like that, because kids need to hold, I all of a sudden have a grandchild, need to hold on when they're walking upstairs. If it's just the top, then
Mhm.
Yeah,
They
that's a good
can't-
point. It was our design has something like the other pictures at this point. So there's two types of handrail that's kind of was highlighted on the plans, the type in the first picture, and then one that has vertical pickets, because there's a bigger drop to the ground next to it, so you have to
Oh.
put them closely spaced together. And I didn't have a photo of that, but it does show, there's a detail on the attachments of that type of handrail. So that's the schedule, we're happy to modify and incorporate some art. We think that would, they're kind of plain when you build them in a utilitarian way. I think I mentioned our building codes related to handrails, and then we have a new dark sky ordinance for lighting, so. And I had mentioned that we've started to incorporate this particular bollard, that there was a cut sheet sent to you. It's really, vandal resistant is the word you're supposed to use. It's really durable. It has a nice, if you don't have a lot of overgrowth, it has a solar panel on top, and I think we've used that on, not on the Bicentennial, but maybe on Mana. We've used it somewhere else.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Mana. And, we have seen a video where someone beats on it with a baseball bat and you can't damage this thing. So we're really happy with those, because the older ones on Bicentennial rusted and we had to replace a lot of them. So we have the standard, but if you have something that's more artistically fits with what the goal is, then we can look at that. We just need to make sure that it has the lumen rating, that it points down, and it's a warmer color temperature, which is probably possible for any
Nice.
type of lighting option. So I'm here to answer any more questions or help guide that process in terms of how to get what you want installed, but I don't know much about the process you guys have to go through.
Can I say something here? So. Given the time constraints that are here. I sure don't wanna see a railing that looks like that, although we've got. Children we have to consider. Did you get the picture that I sent to Caroline this morning?
Was it?
Well, it looks
through
like that one has
Hightail?
bars that go across where children can actually hold on.
No, I understand, it's just ugly as all hell.
Yeah.
We're talking about using public art.
Oh,
funds
for,
right?
Yeah.
So-
Well, we, yeah,
so-
we could.
So just hear me out here for a sec. So if we got somebody to design a railing, and the reason I asked about the photo is I have a photo of someone's railing here in Brisbane that is really, really simple. And it could have multiple bars, but it's not this, this looks like it belongs in a jail, not somewhere that is gonna carry a lot of our children. And because we identified it as a space we wanted to do public art, I kept thinking, oh, that space should look really lovely. And if the railing could be done by an artist, thinking about where it needs to be from a safety perspective into the concrete or whatever, if we moved forward on something like that quickly, then we could maybe think of other public art stuff on
For
that
once it's
staircase
done.
later, because that would have
That
to be
would,
structurally.
that would be
integrated.
okay with me as long as it was open. In other words, I wanna make sure that many artists can submit. And I know it would be a quick turnaround as opposed to suggesting one artist. It
Oh,
may
no,
be
I
one.
wasn't suggesting one artist, it was just a photo of
Yeah,
someone's
But I
railing
think
that
what
looked
we would
cool.
need is, and I don't know, I'd be open to that if we could get the specs on what the requirements are that they need to
Code.
work. That's, yeah,
We can't do anything without knowing.
yeah,
what's
without
covered.
knowing, and then we could put that in the call
Mhm.
and make it a quick turnaround call. Then that might be really kind of fun.
Well, I
Can
think.
can I ask you a question? Oh, I'm sorry. Can I
Oh,
ask
I
one more question now? What, do you have a breakout of the budget of what that was going to cost? For the entire, we have,
For the handrail as
For
it
the-
is.
yeah, what was that? Cause that gives us a sense of what the budget might be.
Just the handrail specifically?
Yeah, I guess, can you go look it up?
Yeah, I can look it up.
Oh,
And
thank
there's
you.
two, there's a type 1 and type.
I mean,
2.
we're on a timeline, so it would be good to have that information.
I'll go, I'm bring it back, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's easy. Yeah, we'll back.
I
Yeah,
also,
and I would think,
Can you pass that around?
Madison. Yes, Madison.
I think whatever we do, we should leave it open to lighting, handrails, or mosaic. Cause we just don't know what we're gonna get, and I think that leaves us like some flexibility because some have maybe a tighter timeline than others. Like the mosaic can come in later. So we should, I think if we just, when we go out to bid, there's all the different options, and also they're gonna be a wide variety of price points too, like a mosaic's gonna run way more. And I think that like, and I don't wanna overstep here, but I think like if the city has a budget for the hand railings, let's say it's 15,000, right? The city Public Works should be still applying that amount. And
I was asking.
public art should supplement whatever is beyond that.
Mhm.
That's exactly why I was asking that question.
oh, yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, and we put in this type in the first two pictures recently on what is kind of a continuation up the alley between San Benito up to Humboldt, where you go up a driveway and then the upper half. So that upper half was 5,000 to install. And,
Manufacture and install?
but it's a third of that 200-foot distance. It wasn't.
Oh, whoa.
I also have a quick question. Just, as far as, we're talking about continuing up from Alvarado up to San Benito, right? It's that narrow dirt,
It's 12 feet wide.
it's 12 feet wide.
The fences come in a little bit, but
Okay, so
one side.
it does, people's houses do back up to this space. And what is the range on either side? It's very narrow, isn't it?
In terms of putting stuff outside of the stairway?
Yeah, like if we wanted to do something,
Well, we could always do that
Sculptural.
after though. isn't it?
exactly, and that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. 'cause
That's
then
what
we
I'm
have a
saying.
sense of what was there.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
a little better.
So doing something after is also a possibility, but preparing, like if you have a stairway going up and there's a space over here that looks like it could hold a cool little sculpture or something, we have that flattened out in the process. We just
Oh,
kind
I
of,
see what you're
do you see what
saying.
I'm saying?
Or a bench.
No,
It's
bench is
too
too
wide,
skinny,
Too
yeah.
skinny.
Yeah.
Too skinny.
But that wouldn't stop you from having like a nice metal cutout or something that's just as you're going up the stairs, it's on the side and you look at it and you go, oh, that's cool and unexpected.
Well,
You know.
it doesn't, yeah.
You know.
I mean, just standing at the bottom of Alvarado and looking up
Mhm.
sort of invokes Alice in Wonderland because of the overgrowth and that it is different. And
But it is very narrow.
I know, and but,
So maybe
and
it
you know,
doesn't
our
matter.
kids are gonna be using that.
Oh, yeah.
Thank God, finally, we're gonna get them off San Benito walking to school, which is
Yeah, it's a
super
nightmare.
important. So, you know, the thought process in my head was always some really fun things that, because the majority of the people who are gonna use it are kids, maybe we think along those lines a little bit.
So
I
on
love
the, on the width, on the width
Yeah.
number, while the
Yeah.
property is
Yes.
12, on the. What's west and east, on the left side looking up,
Mm.
those, fences are in a couple of feet,
Mm.
probably more like 10. On the right side
It's
is
the-
401, the blue house,
It's
both
all-
of their landings go
Oh,
out
I
into that
know.
alleyway.
Yeah, what
So
do you-
that's
what do you-
left to.
Yeah, what are you gonna do about that? Are
They're
you-
gonna stay there and they're gonna use the stairs to
So
access
there's
it.
gonna be opening for them to,
Yeah.
yeah, land.
And
it.
then
Okay.
there's some rock. I think it'll be helpful to find out how much rock and how hard that is to get into because,
Mm.
you know, we're gonna figure that out when we build the stairs.
Yep.
Because some of those places where it's more rocky might not be ideal to put a sculpture or it's
I know.
gonna need a
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
foundation.
Lisa did say something flat.
I mean,
Doesn't
I'm just
really
saying
have
that,
things that
that
go-
it,
Yeah, and if-
that if we think about the site and the stairs going up and them just being stairs and maybe doing something, prepping on the stairs, but maybe there's a spot along the way that could have something later that we
Absolutely.
think, you know.
Them, yeah. It was some, yeah.
But I
think-
here's my, I think with
Yeah.
our timeline.
Yes,
I-
yes.
Think that we really need to, and if we want to be involved in something that's efficient within their timeline and still has the sensibility of us being involved in this wonderful beginning project, that it may be that we want to look at the handrail.
Mhm.
And having said that, then I think what we need from them is what that was budgeted, what the code is, and then how much do we want to add to that?
Right.
To give a budget, and how does the call go out, and when would be the, I mean, you know me, I'm a
Mhm.
checklist person.
Yeah, yeah,
And then when's the deadline for the call, and how do we do the next step of that?
yeah, yeah.
So,
Mhm, no.
so if the intent is to have it all bundled up for the contractor by November, it's pretty tight
That's what I mean. A
turnaround.
pretty tight turnaround, and we may not have anyone who
Yeah, and
comes
if
to
we-
bear, or maybe we do.
Yeah.
So I think there's going to be a backup, because
So
you're
maybe
on
the
a
hand railing
timeline,
is
and
not
I
what
don't,
we
we don't
do.
want you to lose your funding.
Yeah,
Right.
it's $250,000.
Exactly.
But you know,
Do you
too,
see what I'm saying?
oh, yeah,
So-
yeah, 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 but like you
Well-
said, something simple like pressing leaves into the cement, you know, and
But
just
if we want,
giving it a stain or
we
something,
could.
yeah.
I'm just saying, if we wanted to do that, then it might interfere with something else that we want to do on the stairs that's more elaborate.
Oh, really?
Nice mosaic.
Yeah.
I'd say something, you guys. Oh,
That's
sorry.
true.
I'm just
Do,
jumping.
do you guys have any sense of what the code is? Can we be creative at all with
Yeah.
the code?
Yeah, I mean, if you can do this railing, you can do this. If it's close to the existing grade next to it, then you can add any. So this stair is not far above the grade, so this railing is satisfactory, so you can do anything.
That won't break the code, doing anything creative or
As long as you respect the distance.
the
And
distance.
the height.
And the
height,
height,
and the
distance
height.
and height.
And-
In a couple
and
of
structure.
places, the stair needs to be above
And
the
distance from-
existing grade, and unfortunately, because it's quite, you know, how big the drop off is. at the
Yeah,
top,
it's really
It's
steep.
gonna be fabricated steel, and that's still gonna be above the grade, it's not pretty, but it works. So that one has the vertical pickets, and that one can't be.
Wait, Madison's next.
Oh, I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead, Madison.
I was just gonna say, like, if we put it for all different options, like things that we, you know, are open to looking at from artists, and we don't get a timeline, like we don't get a response soon enough, that will direct us in this project to say, okay, clearly railings and lighting aren't happening. Do we still want to prioritize this space for art? And if so, then are we looking at a mosaic? Are we looking at, you know, a painted stairs, etc.? And then maybe you put out another RFP more specific to that could take longer because it doesn't need to come in on the ground floor of this. So, we may be able to make a tight timeline, we may not. That's gonna kind of drive what we end up with here, I think, at the end of the day.
Yeah, because we don't want to lose that grant money.
Well, my
No,
my
we
understanding
don't.
is that, yeah. In reality, our options are, if we want to do anything within their timeline, it would be a rail or lighting done. If after it's all done, we have the option of coming back and doing other things to the stairs, because then we're outside of their timeline. It's on us, so we don't have that timeline. Am I understanding this
Yeah.
correct?
feels
I
right
believe
to
so.
Yeah,
me.
but I think it should just be everything because we may have somebody like that applies for, let's say, a mosaic or a painting, and that might just blow us away more than, applications we're getting for lighting or railings. And we might say, forget the lighting and the railings. This is it. But if if you have a larger scope to begin with, I think it could help us envision this space, and we may go another direction that isn't lighting or railings.
I have a quick question, Karen. I like that, yeah, Madison, if this type of railing is going in and we didn't touch it, is it something that we would be able to, like, if we got a welder who gave us a good RFP to add stuff to it, could we embellish it later?
Did we use it?
I mean, is it a metal that is,
It's like steel tubing.
I mean, I don't know if it
I don't know if you can
has
make that
any.
pretty, honestly.
Well, then I was like, is there a different material that maybe we could maybe?
Like would iron, like, let's say you did something iron organic, could it be wrapped and
Embellish.
embellished?
Maybe, yeah.
I'm just trying to think, instead of just using the tubing, if you use a different type of, you know.
Really gonna
Did you say that?
keep get his head stuck in there or something. It's beautiful.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, it could be later.
I mean,
I
it just
think-
depends
I
on
just
if
think if we
the,
wanted
if
to
the
make
material
sense,
is
I think
different, maybe that
That
we
way,
can have more options.
Do we want to do something ahead or not?
Or we do a
Mm,
metal
mosaics.
dragon that comes in and out of the,
Dragon?
that comes out of the
It's
dirt
a-
next to it, you know?
Or next to it, yeah, we could add.
Yeah.
to-
But
next to it.
those things can be added. I
Yes,
think
they can be
that's
added.
The question I
Could
think
be
we're having
added.
right now, it's just one
Yeah.
question, if I'm not
Yes.
mistaken, is do we want to put out a public call to see if an artist wants to design a handrail? Or do we just want to go with what we have and then let it all get done and then come back and visit it? Isn't that what
That's
we're
pretty
asking?
simple.
That-
Well,
That's
I
it.
mean, I think what I've been saying is different than that. What I've been saying is, do we want to put out a call to somebody who wants to do a handrail lighting or mosaic and just see what comes back? And then let that determine based on the responses, if we're going to be doing something that's coming in on, that's aligning with their timeline, or we're going to focus on something later. And I think that is guided by the timeline, but it's also really guided by the responses. Like
Yeah.
it's guided by what's going to blow us away. So I think from my perspective, the RFP at this point is broad. And
But
based
also-
on the responses, we determine where we're going.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
also it all has to kind of fit together. We can't get a railing that does not work with the stairs. It has to be a cohesive mesh. So I feel like one artist for one vision, maybe
Right.
different people.
Right.
execute.
I don't know if we have the timeline for that,
And
that's what I'm saying.
Well, I agree with Madison. Don't put a barrier up that we don't have.
Yeah,
You
but
never
and
know.
see what happens.
You never know.
And maybe those people will come up with the overall.
Well, we
You
can
never
certainly
know.
throw it out. and
Well,
see
so
what
how do we move forward with that?
So in terms of process moving forward, if we want to do that, then I think if we're backing up the timeline, we would need to have a draft RFP back for your review at by the August meeting, which is the next meeting. And then that would need to go to city council at their first meeting in September for them to authorize the publishing the RFP. We need to we need a not to exceed budget amount. So that if that goes to council in September, then we would publish the RFP. You have to leave it open for at least a month or so to solicit artists and get their proposals. And then we would need to
And
have a
work in the
selection process. Possibly interviews, then an award of contract to city council. And then some level of public engagement process before a final design. So that's a lot taking place.
And they
over
have to
span
finish
of a
the
couple
job
months.
in completion before July.
Well, the specs.
The specs or
For
the job?
November to
For
November.
November,
They need to give the specs.
Right,
of-
but the job
would
itself
have
has
to
to
be
be
completed
by
by
July,
June 30th.
by June.
June 30th,
But-
2025.
That's
Not for the railing.
It's,
a
I
try.
love the concept.
Optimist.
I love the concept.
We can try and put it out there.
I love the
put it
concept,
there.
Madison. I do like the concept. I just, it sounds tough.
It's.
How much access how much commute is there? Is there traffic on that? On that
On
walk?
that.
Oh
Is it
my
just
gosh.
children?
Especially because right now.
Well, it's so impossible. I used to work
Can I back up and tell you guys how we got the grant money?
Yeah.
So there was somebody on CCAG who didn't like Brisbane, and they said Brisbane is never going to get any more money from CCAG, and I changed that.
CCAG is,
City and County
Okay,
Associated Governments, that's the board I sit on. So, and part of CCAG, one of their subcommittees is BPAC, which is Bicycle Pedestrian Safety Access, basically. So this project was identified as a safety issue for Brisbane, for the children going to school. That's how it was put forward. But 3 applications were turned down and we finally got the money. But it was pulling teeth that day. I was like, we're never gonna get this money, but we did. And so we have to advertise this and promote this as a safety item
yes,
For the kids.
for the kids.
for the kids. So this
Definitely.
was,
Absolutely.
this was for the children all
It
along.
should be kids all the
Well,
way.
and I know everybody who lives up that part of town is gonna be really happy that there's a staircase. They
Mhm.
don't have to go sliding down on a piece of cardboard to get down there.
Yep,
Right,
People
Karen?
do that, people do
We
that.
could, yeah, they do that.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it could be. If we move into that, thinking the big picture, I guess it could be the timeline for whoever the artist is. Says you have to have the rail in by a certain date, and then you could always come back after. The completion and the money's in to do what the next part. Does that, you know what I mean?
Mhm, because
Whatever
if
that
there's
might
if
be.
there's.
I
a
don't know if that's
Okay.
all the same artist, to be quite honest,
But
but
if
that
some,
doesn't mean that it isn't.
but if somebody comes up with a good concept for the stairs perhaps, and putting in the stairs, we'll put in the stairs, but maybe like you said, we need a recess, we need to know that. You know, or they need to know that.
Although
Yeah.
every mosaic thing in the city was there for 50 years
Okay.
before they did a mosaic.
You
So they just
you build a
put it
safe
on the
palette
top.
and let us
Yeah.
paint on it later, but maybe
Yeah.
we should be in charge of, or at least be aware of what kind of materials are being
Yeah.
used. And make recommendations to
right.
be able to add to it.
Yes,
So let's make the palette and
Yeah.
let them
The
paint on it
base,
later.
The base. yeah.
okay,
Can I talk about the handrail? I guess we didn't envision. That your artist installed it, that we envisioned that you gave us a design that was incorporated into the project, cause it's probably the handshake of having a contractor and an artist needs to come in is difficult, you know, it's finger pointing. You're slowing
Sounds
us
like a
down,
war.
you're not giving us access, you know, that's difficult. So I don't, is the process you laid out, is that, are there any ways to shorten that process? Does it? You know, it has to go to full council. it
No,
has
I mean,
to-
that's how it's
Can I-
written in the public art implementation guidelines in the ordinance, so.
It's gonna be
Extra
great.
meeting or approve the RFP by email more quickly than a month or.
I don't know,
The first council meeting's not until.
Everyone's staring at Jeremy.
Well, it's the practice, as I understand it, the
Yeah.
subcommittee, this is a subcommittee of the council, right? So our practice has been to do this all Brown Act, so that does have an extra layer, it's not required by law. This committee could meet in someone's kitchen if they wanted to, but it makes sense that there's been some transparency associated with it, so that's fine, but that could absolutely be a way to cut a little time.
I mean, we can move up our public art meeting, but it's not gonna change the next council meeting, so I don't think that
Right.
matters.
Right, true.
right.
So,
I'm gonna be on vacation.
Maybe I could throw this out. You know, what I've heard is a couple things. First, I've heard, you know, commitment from the committee here to be part of the process, however it ends up being.
Mhm.
right? So I think that that's critical, is knowing that if we're gonna have that involvement, then it could look a little different depending on what we potentially get back from someone. So I heard some consensus around kind of throwing the football out, to an artist to see what we get. And understanding there's a tight time frame, but we may need to have a conversation with you very quickly in that time frame to say, look, this is possible, this isn't. And then building off, I think, Tom, what you were saying, just the palette, the opportunity to add on, to paint on and the like. So I think if we're all offering a wee bit of flexibility in the process, and, mea culpa to us, we'll obviously want to incorporate you guys much more, sooner. So that's on me. But in this process, we can experiment, see what makes some sense, and hope it works out in the next 60 days or so. But a lot of work to get there, and we'll try.
When you have selected an artist, does that have to go back to council too?
To award the contract, yes.
That's not to say that once we get the approval to throw out the contract, and then we can double up our public art meetings, start moving people forward, once that 30 days of open process, or, open
Mhm.
bid has been in. So October could be busier, but I don't know. I mean.
Well, you go out
really
September, I'm making this up, September 6th,
Mhm.
yeah, the council meeting, and you shouldn't be out for more than 30 days, right?
Right,
And we have to have a
Budget
budget.
some planning.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
would
would
be
like to suggest, I mean, I think that Nine Dot Arts gave a lot of great feedback.
Mhm.
It would be great, like, to say, hey, these are the 3 things we're considering for this space. What type of budget do you think makes sense? Because I think that's where we struggle the most.
Mhm.
So
You
I would
said-
advise
Sorry,
staff-
Madison, you said asking 9.X?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, they've given a lot of great feedback so far on on this agenda item, and so I would say the thing that this committee struggles with the most is finding the appropriate budget, because we sometimes come up with a budget and then it's like crickets, and is it the project, is it the budget? We don't really know. We've never done any of these types of art pieces in Brisbane before to like have a sense of what they're going for. So I would just advise staff, if the committee is okay with it, to connect with Nine Dot Arts and say, we're looking at lighting, possibly railings, possibly mosaic. What is the range of a budget? If we're having artists in those different medias applying, what's kind of a range? Because the budget that a mosaic artist is going to need is going to be very different than the budget that somebody who's creating a stair or a handrail is going to need. And so we need to have a range there that can encompass all the types of art that we're willing to consider for this space.
I think that's a great idea, Madison, thanks.
Mhm. Okay. So what's the next step?
I would know the timeline to see if we have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can
Timeline.
build up a timeline
Okay.
and then I can send that
See if
to
there's
everybody
one.
via email
Okay.
and hopefully we can make it work. And then I can start to draft up an RFP that we would bring back for your review and
That's great. And I think I heard, but Madison, help me clarify. You're talking about one artist to oversee rail lighting and what might happen on the stairs?
I mean, I think that we don't need to do all of those things. Like, we may just have incredible lighting. We may just have an really impactful, handrail. Like, I'm not saying we need to have cluster all those things in this one space, but I think that if we're open, and I think this is something that you like really instilled in me from the beginning, is like, if we're open to all of the possibilities for this space, then
So you're
that
saying, I'm sorry, but just so I can better, this is the space and we want you as an artist to give us a proposal
Yeah.
on what you would make this space look like.
yes.
Yeah.
Done. I mean,
and
I get with this. All right, thank you.
Correct.
yeah,
That's
we're
all.
open. Here are some things we're open to. Like, here's what's possible. We have a collaboration, we've got a grant, whatever. We are going to be doing lighting. So if you're somebody who's a lighting artist, if you do handrails, if you're a painter, if you're a mosaic artist, like, we could just give examples of things that we could see in the space and just let people apply with their vision.
Budget.
Yeah, right here, what they're saying a little bit. You're gonna get some really
I was gonna say,
key ideas.
yeah.
So probably giving it some,
Parameters.
yeah.
That's what I'm saying, because we're gonna get, how can we give a budget?
No neon color, whatever
Yeah.
that is.
Well, you give a
Any-
range, right? You give a range. That's how you would give a budget. Like, we probably wouldn't do mosaic and handrails and lighting. That would be
Why not?
such a huge budget. Well, I mean, I guess we'd have to see. I thought like mosaics are,
Because we're complementing their budget.
so,
So the budget is already there for some of it. We're
Well, not much.
complementing- Not much,
Like
really,
the
not
railing
for
is
the
maybe
railing.
$5,000.
$5,000.
That's nothing.
Well, no,
That's
that
it.
was the short one.
That was the short, yeah, I get it.
Sure.
that's why I would recommend like 9.Arts is the expert here on this type of thing. So I would just recommend that staff connect with them.
Yeah.
And say, this is what the committee is interested in seeing. What's your best advice on how to craft an RFP that like has an appropriate budget, that's a range that can attract the most amount of solicitations possible? Like what is the type of budget range that you would think would make sense, and just let them like help us do
Yes.
that.
Right.
'Cause
They're
we're
recommending
not gonna figure it out right here. We don't know.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, we can certainly engage them and determine what their preferred approach would be as far as the fiscal.
That's why we have
That
a
is the
consultant.
Okay, yeah, look at it as a
Yeah.
space, okay.
Okay.
So I've already asked this and you've already answered, but the committee can't just say, look, we found this light, we all love it. We want to put in this light. No, you have to.
Follow
Okay.
it.
We can't because we have to get input.
If
from-
we're gonna put out an RFP, then we cannot make that decision. That's what. So I think we have to get the information on, like Tom says, the timeline and what the budget is from your end and what we might want to supplement, which we'll ask of our,
The
9.Arts
master plan.
master plan
Right.
people. Is that correct? Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
Good collaboration.
And we should know that in a month, right? Yeah?
Yeah.
But if it doesn't, if the time.
To be more exact. What is that smile?
It's not
Well,
quite.
it's
a month,
like, oh
but
my
yeah.
God.
It looked like that we are committed to,
Like,
I've known
It
her,
is.
I've known her,
yeah.
I've seen that before.
Hard smiling.
Yeah.
At the right time, yeah.
I'm gonna turn, I can't.
Don't blush, don't laugh, I mean, look at me.
Yeah.
So that's the path on
Okay.
this.
Okay.
I was just gonna add one more thing when we were talking about the space constraints that I didn't get to. The fence, we've got about 10 feet. We do have water, sewer and storm drain there. So those are mostly looking up, they're on the left side or under the stairs. I don't think there's much on the right side, but if you got to the point to look at sculpture, we'd lay out where we think it is and we'd work around it.
Yeah.
But there are those constraints about the space. All right, so I guess you don't need us, no more questions on this?
No.
We always need,
There will be. I'll touch base with you, Karen, because as I draft the RFP, I'll need all the specs and information about materials go in and frame
Constraints and,
Yeah.
all right, sounds good.
Okay. Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you
Very much.
Just a
Thank you
just
for
a comment, I
participating.
mean,
I think, this is the part I want to be here.
oh, well, my comment is that
Thank you, Jeremy.
even a little,
Thanks, Jeremy.
Thank you.
in this
Yeah.
situation, even a little art will go a long way. You know what I mean? Even, leaves in the cement, even a handrail detail at the end, something, a little art could go a long way. Doesn't have to be it's such a tiny, weird space. It doesn't have to be the Taj Mahal.
This might be the perfect place for your surprise art, Madison.
Well, that's what I
You
say,
know-
it's like mosaic and little surprises maybe.
Yeah.
Walking around
Kids love
places
that.
and seeing, like a bronze squirrel on a light pole post or something, just weird.
Well,
fun.
that's why I was wondering if they could change the fabrication, the material of the railing, and then we could add things to the railing later. I don't, the lighting seems pretty straightforward and standard, but.
They can put the top.
Yeah, or
As
you,
a- as a parent in Madison, we'll be worried about these things soon. Lighting, safety,
yeah, lighting safety.
and
That has
anything
to be
else,
first.
Mhm.
Icing.
art, great.
As long as the art
Anyone who
doesn't,
does railings or who does like they know this, like if
Yeah.
they're doing public art, railings for the purpose of public art, then that's something that they're, they're aware of ADA, they know all that, they have to
Great.
think about all that, so.
Perfect.
How do we deal with ADA and that staircase just?
It's
not
It's
ADA.
not
compliant.
ADA.
Not ADA.
So we don't
Yeah.
have to will be.
So we don't
It's
have
just
to.
staircase.
Like,
It's
deal with
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Or other restrictions, height restrictions, material, that type of thing.
And that somebody's not gonna fall off the edge, because
Right.
right now it's very dangerous, so
Yeah.
I'm hoping that.
Sharp edges,
Yeah.
they think about like, they know that the public is going to be using it, and so there has to be like some element of
Mhm.
safety that they're incorporating.
I
would
like your horizontal bars too, because they not only give little kids something to hang on to, but it keeps them from falling off that edge, you know?
Even if it's only 8 inches, it's still,
Yeah, and it's steep.
yeah. Roll down.
Chairlift.
We need a
Chairlift.
rope.
A rope.
Chairlift.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
all right, yep. All right, moving on, discuss options for a gateway welcome sign. So does anyone have the notes that 9 comment?
I do.
Could we like just reference that, because I thought they had some really good.
I think they're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think is what we all said, kind of alluded to, was that we kind of needed to wait.
Tom, you weren't here for the last meeting, right?
I'm catching up.
Yeah, okay, so just, we could back up for a moment. So at the last meeting, we had a couple of people from the public come and present the idea of a welcome sign
Cool.
on the site where the former Bank of America building was. Whereas there's that kind of blank, their old sign is there. And so they just wanted to present the idea and kind of get the committee's perspective on whether or not that was something that the committee was interested in pursuing at this time. So we brought it back for discussion because it wasn't agendized at the previous meeting. We did ask the public art consultants to give some input. They provided, I don't know if we want to read aloud. if everybody's
Let
had
me
the
just
opportunity
read
to.
that, because I think they made some really good points. It says, welcome sign. We understand the desire to jump on this opportunity, but we recommend waiting until the holistic art master plan is accepted. This will allow you to have a better understanding of how the mission, vision, location plans, criteria, art typographies, and most importantly, community feedback come together. This information will arm you to be able to make even more informed decisions around the welcome sign in the future. We also recommend saving public art dollars for a more substantial monumental sign in the future for the following reasons. Number 1, cost. Number 2, environmental footprint, avoiding waste or disposal of an art piece. We wouldn't want to take down this sign in 5 years if it doesn't fit the overarching vision of Brisbane. A recommended alternative would be to have an exterior vinyl on the existing infrastructure where the sign is being proposed. This would again allow you to use your current process to solicit local artists to compete for the installation, and you could open it up to the community for input and engagement. This would be more of a low-cost temporary solution that would allow you to make an impact on the interim until a solidified plan for a welcome sign is agreed upon. I think those are all really valid points.
Perfect,
Mhm.
in my mind.
But I think that the proposal and getting it on our radar is a good thing. You
Yeah.
know, for the future.
Absolutely.
It is our gateway, and it would set the precedence for whatever's inside.
Well, we're almost done with our lawsuit and we can't talk about it.
Okay,
So
Well, the other thing
that's
too
where
is
everything's-
that we have a project that's come about that has a very tight timeline that we have to focus on in the interim. I don't think it's wise for us at this point in time to have the public art master plan and that whole process going on, and then 2, RFPs out there at the same time. I think that's a lot on our plate. And so, sometimes it's just that there's like another project that is more urgent. And I think that also is part of besides all of the other points, like this is something that we have to prioritize, the stairway. And then, once that's done, the public art master plan will be finished. And at that point,
yeah, I think the proposal from the citizens was just to get it on the radar, just so it's
Absolutely.
part of the
And
palette.
most importantly, to be involved, which is
Yes.
fabulous.
Yeah, and so there you go. I mean, but definitely we need the consultants to do their job before anything is done on this idea. But it's a good idea. So there you
Oh,
go.
it's a great
Well,
idea.
and just to remind too, I mean, just even though we don't have, if we don't wanna mess with the entrance right away, at Bay Shore, you know, because we don't know what's going on, like, it's not to say maybe in the spring, once we hopefully get through some of the stairs or whatever, or if that gets pushed off, we still have that skate wall, which could be potentially a welcome to Brisbane mural
And I-
or
yeah.
something, or mosaic.
And they-
But that's still after the master plan. I
Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
feel very.
But it may not
Yes,
be, but
yes.
it may not be 5 years down the road, because we don't know
Yes.
where we're going. It could be
Right.
Yes, it
sooner.
will be 5 years, I hope.
Well, yeah, I'm hoping that,
No, no,
that once,
no, the high school, you know, the
Oh,
entrance.
yeah, I'm just saying, right.
yeah,
I agree.
but I agree. I just think that Brisbane could use a great welcome sign. And that could be a project that we could really focus on later, once we have our whole thing together, because great idea.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right.
Is there any public comment?
Well, I have
Oh.
a comment. It would be wonderful if someone could write to our two wonderful people who came to propose a little follow-up, just thank them.
They're probably
No, no,
on
no.
that. Oh, just to thank them.
Well, to thank them and tell them what
How we're moving
moving
forward
so that
with
we
it.
can continue the communication with him.
Yeah, that's
Put them on the subcommittee.
The subcommittee. Do you know what I mean?
I like
Because
that.
I
That's
would
good
like to
style.
encourage
Good.
people to make sure
Yeah.
that they come in a positive.
Yeah.
I love that.
Sounds like-
Oh,
Mhm, and they did
great.
put a lot of work into it.
Yeah,
They did.
great.
Yeah, I
Although
think that it communicate that it's a priority to us. It's just like a timeline thing, but that, it's not
And we
something
need
that
a master plan.
As soon as we have the master plan, it will be one of our action items in the future. It's not getting dropped,
and that's also on the advice of like our consultant too. It's not something that it's
Yeah.
just us in this room deciding that, but like the experts that we've hired who really want to help us come up with what's Brisbane's vision for itself and branding and all of those things that all comes into play with like what would resonate with a welcome to Brisbane sign. And I think they were also 9.arts was like, how can you really make it like a big moment and not just like a little thing, but how can you really lean into a welcome to Brisbane piece of art? And I think that the people who presented it would appreciate that we would be taking it very seriously and we would want to do like as cool of a project as possible.
Going on 4 corners.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay, I think that's good. Is there anything
So
else on that?
So let me double check I didn't receive any public comment prior. Let me just-
There's a raised hand. Oh, is there a raised hand?
Hmm. Oh. Tom Hines, go ahead. Thank you for joining
Hi,
us.
Hi,
Hello.
I wanted to object to this on 2 reasons. One is this was brought up many years ago.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry,
Object to
Tom.
what, Tom?
We need to be clear on what you'd like to object to. We're not clear
A
on that.
gateway entrance
Oh.
welcome sign.
Okay,
This was brought up many years ago, and I think it might have been around the same time as the gas station was proposed, but it was defeated. It was not a welcome issue. And then the other thought was simply the cost. There's other issues in Brisbane that money could go to, like a teen center or something. I know that's not public art, but still, we need to look where we're spending the money. That's all. Thanks.
thank you.
Thank you. I'm fine. I don't have my glasses. Here,
Oh, wrong ones.
What are you trying to do?
I was just,
One up.
One up.
thank you. Where's your glasses? Okay, so as let me just double check email as well. I'm pretty sure I did not.
With that comment in mind, I think that the process that we're looking into of having lots of public input on a sign is the way to go. And we will definitely pursue that. We would never do
After the
anything.
master
Yeah,
plan.
after the master plan and we get lots of feedback from people, then
Yeah.
we would move forward on something only after that. Okay, all right, next meeting?
We have August 19th. It sounds like we have a vacation on the
My birthday, I won't
19th.
be there.
Oh, happy birthday.
My birthday's the next day.
Not yet. Trent?
I probably won't be here, but I
won't
can
be
call
there.
in.
Okay.
I'm going to be driving from Vancouver to somewhere, I think.
Just somewhere.
I mean, I don't think.
Somewhere that's about 120 degrees.
Somewhere.
So-
Like we chose from Vancouver to somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere, I don't know where.
At that time.
At that time.
Later, because it doesn't matter, because it's not gonna go to council until the 9th. I mean, the 5th.
The 5th, so we could do the Monday,
26.
the 20th.
Does that work better?
That
for
works
people?
better for me.
I don't know.
The 26th, Tom?
26 is better. for
Is
me.
that better?
At
That-
5,
That
right?
gives staff
That gives
also
me
an
an
extra
extra
week.
week for the RFP.
Yeah,
And if I'm still away, I'll still call in.
Okay.
Okay,
at 5, right?
um,
That works for us.
at 5
From
PM.
somewhere.
Is
Madison,
no,
is that good
correct?
for
5?
you?
That'll be
August
after the first
26th?
process. It's just after.
It's close to your your birthday, your
Your
baby's birthday.
Your Labor Day.
She's like-
Yeah, I mean, we'll
she's like, I
see.
don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
You will see.
Yeah, you will see.
We'll just be reviewing the RFP anyway, so any input you have prior that you'd like to see or whatever.
It would
You
be-
have Noreen handy.
Yeah, it would be the RFP, but also the, a report from Arts with the survey results. So,
Yeah, that would be important.
Well,
Did they
she's
Well, I
really-
have another meeting the 27th, so hopefully
I'm loading you up before.
nothing after that. So
Okay.
nothing after that day. It's really cutting it close for me.
Okay, Monday, August 26th at 5 PM.
Okay.
Wonderful.
I'll confirm the
Okay.
Arts. Also.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Madison. Have a wonderful,
Yeah.
time, wonderful break.
Yay, okay.
All right.
All
Take
right.
care. Bye-bye.
Bye.